Kenya continues to challenge the global stage in a way that I would say is unique. Seeing Kenyans out there, you get that the world stage in terms of competition, that is in the sportsmanship, and in a wide array of activities, not just athletics, Kenyans continue to soar high like the eagle. Yet with all this, I still say that there is a lot of potential. And if you didn't have this information, then let me bring it to your hearing. That do you know that Kenya is among the nations that rank the top? Yes. If nations were to board a plane, Kenya will not be in the economy. Kenya will be flying the business class. Yes, for your information. Okay, it is something that is very much good, especially for Kenyans to know this and to realize what a great potential we have within our nation. Now, irrespective of what we can do, there is also what we are doing as a nation. And for Kenya to realize this dream of becoming not just relevant, but extremely relevant in the global stage, Kenya must implement, and I use the word must, implement some of the internal building structures to capacitate the people within its domain through empowerment and meaningful empowerment for this matter, for the Kenyan dream to come to pass. I have heard of the word, the Kenya we want. I don't know whether you've heard of that line also, but I know there is also a Kenya that I dream of, a Kenya that many of you dream of, but for certainty, we are not there yet. Political landscape and political actors play a very important role, especially in the development of a nation. But then another question comes on board. How is the Kenyan political landscape? How is the Kenyan political atmosphere? Is the Kenyan political landscape in opposition to, in all genuinity, take this nation to a place where it ought to be? That is a question we have to ask, and not just ask, but find answers to. Now, having interacted with many in my circle and also in line of education, I have gotten to speak to young people and ask them the state of the nation. How do you think the nation is progressing? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? And with the benefit they've given is that yes, something is going on, and the rate at which good is going on is not parallel. Of course, it should not be parallel, by the way, is not compared to the rate at which bad is going on. And in a matter to address this, I've posed questions to them and asked them, now given the opportunity, will you step up to be the solution that this country needs? And many of them surprisingly say, it is in my heart to step up, but I cannot. Then I ask them, why can't you step up? Let this answer then come later on. But one thing I must bring across to Kenyans and its leaders, men and women who have been set up there as watchguards, as sentinels, whom have been given the authority through the official legitimacy to drive some of the Kenyans' most trusted resources is that there is something we need to do. Politics is a tool through which governments are made, especially in a democracy like Kenya. I mentioned the term democracy, and I believe that Kenya knows the meaning of the term democracy, and if it knows not, let it go back and search for the term democracy, where freedom is treated with all the legality it deserves. I've read of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that talks about the supremacy of this constitution, where the rule of law is regarded effectively. We are people who come from the church, and the church must not in its own self entirety and entirely refrain from speaking the leadership of a land, because we also believe that leadership comes from God, and it is effective for the church to be the guide through which a nation do not go into drain. Now, as I continue to speak of this, the Kenyan political landscape must not have officials that are set in terms of being watchguards, but changing on the stage to turn this nation a banana republic. A nation, for it to be built and to have a strong foundations and to be as a fortress in which the global atmosphere, the global community, the global fraternity look forward to, must be a nation that is guided effectively with people who have understanding of what it takes. And a state officer must be able to differentiate between the state responsibility and personal responsibility. I'm looking at Kenya, where the spirit of patriotism is injected, is inculcated within the life of the young men, the young women, while they are still babies, while they are still children. That in playgroup, a young boy already knows that I am Kenya, and Kenya is me, that my brother is Kenyan, and Kenya is he, that she is Kenya, and Kenya is she. Therefore, I can not do anything to harm her, because then I will be harming Kenya. I have told you of the young people I have spoken of, and they say, well, I cannot step up because I need my family to be safe. I cannot step up because the political landscape has become a drain of bloodthirstiness. I cannot step up because I will be beaten. A nation must rise. When we are speaking of Africa, we must not go to the African stage without addressing the current stage of our nation. Kenya must also not become a chicken territory where the strongest cock must shed the blood for it to continue dominating. I love various projects that are going on, that are being implemented effectively in various parts of the nation. But I also don't love the stalled and the ineffective and the impunity-driven projects. It is time for Kenya to rise in the spirit of patriotism. The salvation Kenya needs is not outside its boundaries or outside its territory, but it is within. We have a nation made of brilliant people from the top, I will not say to the bottom, but to the top. Young people, old, with a lot of wisdom, with a lot of relevant knowledge to take this nation to a place